لما كنت ولد أبوي كان ياخدنا رحل.
So last time we were here, I was going on about how 2024 as a year in film wasn't good enough. But that's because, and I purposefully didn't mention a couple of movies, and one movie that we're going to be talking about today. One film, of course, was The Brutalist, which has still not come, should I even say this or not, online? Because honestly, that's how we were going to watch these movies.
Yeah.
That was one movie that I didn't get to see in 2024, even though it's a 2024 release, so didn't make it into my top 10. Another film which we're talking about today most definitely makes into that top 10 or top 6 or whatever.
Definitely.
But we only got to see it like a week or two ago.
I saw it, I think, 2 days ago.
2 days ago, and I saw it like a week ago because that's when I found it online. The film is No Other Land.
Yeah.
And I have to say, straight off the bat, it's not an easy movie to watch.
بداية تصويري هي بداية نهايتي.
Definitely not.
It's not an easy movie to watch. It's not a movie that you're going to sit down with your friends and maybe sort of hopefully while away an hour and 30 minutes or however long the movie runs. It is a movie that had me so torn. It's a movie that had me so emotional at times because it's documentary, yes. And while we'll get into the details, I just feel that if anything stands out from that year, and considering the year that, or the 15 months that have passed since October of 2023, this movie, I think perfectly, it sort of crystallizes that entire argument.
Yeah.
And watching this film, if you are not moved, then I think you are made of...
You don't have a heart.
You don't have a heart.
Yeah.
You don't have a heart. And I never get emotional. I do get emotional watching movies.
No, you don't. We just talked about this a while ago.
We just talked about this for like half an hour downstairs. But yes, this is such a difficult movie to watch.
No Other Land.
No Other Land.
I watched it 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have... I saw this way back.
Yes.
Especially when we did the first episode.
Yeah. But again,
it would have topped all the charts that we were doing.
Easily.
It moved me a lot. I also don't get really emotional while watching movies, especially unless and until there is something very dramatic happening.
Yeah.
And I'm connected with the characters.
The characters, the story.
But this time around, not really connecting with the characters, but connecting with the situation.
Of course.
With the context of it.
With the context
and
of it.
with whatever was happening around and everything that we have been seeing for the past 15 or 16 months now.
Yeah. Plus 75 years.
Plus 75 years, exactly. So yeah, it moved me a lot. Excellent storytelling.
Yeah.
Very raw. This is probably the most rawest film I've ever seen.
And I think there's a reason for that, and I think we can talk about that now.
Yeah.
So the story, for those of you who are watching at home or on your phones or whatever, however you choose to consume this, No Other Land is about 2 people.
Yeah.
One is, of course, a Palestinian from the West Bank, specifically Masafer Yatta, which is
village, kind of a village.
A community in the mountains of the West Bank. A young Palestinian by the name of Basel.
Basel Adra.
Yeah, a graduate of law, but of course, because they have no opportunity, he can't practice. And the other person, on the other hand, is Yuval, if I'm pronouncing his name, Yuval Abraham.
Abraham, yes. Abraham Yuval.
Yes. What's it called? An Israeli, in this case, a journalist, from a settlement which is, I believe, somewhere down the road, not down the road, but quite near to where...
It's like...
It's sort of in the area. And I don't know if you remember this, there's this one particular line that another Israeli uses for him. And he's like, oh, you're one of those human rights Jews.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And that struck me because the thing is that we've seen everything that's been on display for the past 15 months. And again, I'll talk about that other thing in a second because that person actually appears in this movie. But what we've seen in this, and I think it's unfair to Israelis, not to maybe the majority, but there is a minority. There is a minority who are deeply concerned with what is going on with Palestinians. They are deeply, I mean, their approach is as humanistic as it can be.
هاي أنا يوفال كيفك؟ بس شوي يوفال عشان في ناس
سألوك إذا أنا صحفي إسرائيلي؟
لا بساعد
And in this particular person's case, he's a young man, I think almost the same age as Basel. I mean, he's there, shoulder to shoulder.
It's not just him, there are two other Israelis.
So in the movie, so what's it called? In the credits, you'll see there were two other directors, and you see them in, I think, towards the end of the film. They sit in the back seat.
Yes.
I'm forgetting their names. My apologies, but you'll see them in the credits.
One is Rachel
yes.
Szor or something.
Yeah,
and the other one, Hamoud or something like that.
Yes, there's another guy. So the reason why I'm even starting with this thing about when you say that it's raw, is that they shot it themselves. This isn't some big camera crew.
True.
Lots of money or a big budget. This is just 4 people documenting what is, I would say, the past 4 years.
From 2019 to 2023.
20, to about 2023. Specifically, why this is being documented is that in 2019, the Israeli Supreme Court decided, I think after about 20 years.
22 years.
That this specific area, which was designated by the Israeli army as a training ground, in which villages have been living there for centuries. It is now finally, the villages should be moved out forcibly. Expelled.
Yes.
If they should be forcibly moved out. And it should be handed over to the Israeli army. So this movie documents 5 or 4 years in the lives of this small Palestinian community. And I wouldn't even say ups, the many downs, because there are no ups in this movie, unfortunately. I think the only thing that you can take away, and that is, I think, something that Basel says, that we just have to keep on doing it. We just have to keep on at it.
Yes.
We have to.
He even, taunts Yuval, and he says, you want things to get done in 10 days.
Now. Exactly.
Its consistency is going to take a decade or so.
It's going to take a decade or so. And again, I think that, I guess I'm assuming this comes from being from a people that have been so beaten down.
Yes.
That for them, even if they're getting their message out, for them they feel that that's triumph enough.
Yeah. Remember when he says one of my clips or one of my videos got 2,366 views, and he feels this is something.
This is something.
Peace for Palestine. كمان وصل ل 2366 شخص. شو ممتاز على فكرة.
Because they are unfortunately resigned to their fate.
Yeah.
They, I think, understand that unless, I think, an act of God, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but unless an act of God were to happen,
things will not change.
Things are not going to change. Yeah. And he holds, and I think this is my last point before I hand it over to you, I think he holds this hope, a fool's hope, I think, in this belief that even if this one video makes it out and it gets to the right amount of people, maybe, and he specifically says this, maybe America will sort of step in and do something.
So what's good is they are still hoping.
They're still hoping.
It's America is going to do something.
Yeah.
What I felt throughout this film, I think the subtitles do not do justice to the language.
I was about to say that because it's really good that we have you in the studio with us today, because you are, of course,
familiar with the language.
You're very familiar with the language.
A little different than from our dialect. But but I do understand what's going on. I understand the emotions, I understand the context. And I feel the subtitles did not do a lot of justice to the film itself.
They never do.
Especially the mother who lost her child, the Harun, the one who gets shot and gets paralyzed.
Oh my God! Yeah. That is one particular scene which is, I'm using this word quite a lot in this. Unfortunately, it's actually caught on camera.
Yeah.
In which the Israeli army comes into their village. They try and take their generator.
Yeah.
It's not like these villages are even armed. They're not even brandishing like sticks or like knives or guns or anything, or even rocks, which is, the Palestinian weapon of choice, because unfortunately they don't have anything else. They're just trying to take their generator away. And during that sort of altercation, a soldier steps back and shoots him. And in his case, he is, I think, paralyzed from the shoulders down. Shoulders down.
إن شاء الله ربنا يشفي لي يا رب يشفي لي يا بديش ولا شيء بحب الله
قدامك صار الشيء يا خالتي؟
والله قدامي والله طخوا قدامي.
There's a scene in which those Israeli journalists they visit him in the cave.
Yeah, and I was going to speak about that because I've actually interviewed that one journalist.
You have?
Yes, I was very lucky to, and this is many, many years ago in 2014. So if you notice, there's I think a lady, an older man, and then there's one man who's sitting on a chair taking notes.
Yes.
That man is Gideon Levy.
Okay.
Very, very well-known journalist. And I was very, very lucky enough, and I think I'm not going to pat myself on the back for this, but I think I'm the only Pakistani journalist to have interviewed him at the time. This is back in 2014.
Okay.
And side note, I remember he's like, why don't you call me? And I was like, wait a second, if I try dialing an Israeli number from Pakistan, what's going to happen to me? So I was like, no, let's do this over, Skype, when Skype was still sort of en vogue. So yes, I was able to interview him. And again, like Yuval, a much younger man, but Gideon Levy has been documenting this for years. And I'm sure you can find a lot of his stuff online. Norman Finkelstein, Medea Benjamin, Gideon Levy, there are so many. Either they're American, they're Jews, like for example the two people I just mentioned, Medea Benjamin, Norman Finkelstein, or Gideon Levy, who's an Israeli. These people are the human rights Jews. It's such a shame that's what they're called.
That's how ironic it is.
Exactly, that's what they're called by their own people.
The other thing that I loved about this is throughout this film, where you are showing us a small family who trying to survive. There is also a friendship going on in the midst of all of this, and the irony is it's a really good friendship between a Palestinian and an Israeli.
لازم نهاجر انا وياك.
جد؟ وين نروح؟
على المالديف.
What I felt was, again, as you mentioned in the beginning, throughout this whole period, this whole era, we kept on thinking that maybe all of them are the same. But this documentary gives us a slight hint that not all of them are the same.
Exactly.
There are a lot of people who are also, against this.
Yes, they are.
Living in Israel.
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
And they wholeheartedly are against it. You can even see Yuval when he appears in the film in BBC or CNN on his own channels. Yes. And people are, rebutting him and saying...
They're denouncing him. They're saying that, you're And that's unfortunately what's been happening, which we've seen over the past 15 months, because again, sort of the 24-hour news cycle has been dominated by this. Whenever you've heard a voice of dissent from an Israeli or from a Jew, immediately they're labeled as a self-hating Jew.
Exactly.
As a traitor. Right? But we see in these people that for them, it's not even a question of, like as you said, that budding friendship. They don't look at one another as, you're an Israeli, Palestinian, Jew, Muslim. They're just two young guys.
He even asks him at one point, what would you do if you were in my place?
Yeah.
And he says, I cannot imagine myself being in your place.
Which is something that, again, as viewers, watching this movie, and this is something that I'm coming back to when we started this show. How is it watching this movie that you are not moved?
Yeah.
Sure. It's always been qualified. We're trying, we were bombing this place because Hamas was here. So even if 200 children did die, it's not really our fault. But watching this movie, how are you not moved?
And that scene of the school.
Because you're still a serving academic. I'm a former academic, but they're in class, and one scene that literally brought me to tears You know when the soldiers come and there are these kids,
Yes.
and they're quickly taking they're quickly taking the stuff down to save it.
Yes.
Even right now I'm getting emotional thinking of that, because that was one scene that I just could not imagine. You know, our nieces, our nephews, our kids having to put up with something like that where soldiers are coming and the first thing on their minds is, oh, let's just take this stuff down because we know we might lose this building, but at least let's salvage something.
Yeah. And there were toys in it.
There were toys, and
I think there were balls.
They were trying to get that stuff. They were getting like, you know, the
chart
papers and stuff. How? And sorry, the reason why I keep on asking, the reason why I think I should keep on mentioning this is that even though it's been nominated for an Oscar, this is a movie, and a lot of people have been trying to wonder how they get, because the thing is I'm not sure if this is if my information is exactly up to date, but they have yet to find an American distributor for this movie.
They have distributed in Norway.
In Norway, right?
But not in the US, right?
Not in the US.
It's even kind of funny that I searched for Basel on Instagram. He only has, I think, 40,000 or 30,000 followers.
Right.
But at the same time, if we only talk about Basel as a character,
yes,
what a character this guy is. More power to him, more support to him, more strength to him. How old is he? I think he's in his 20s, early 20s
he's
or
21,
so.
22.
21, 22. Compare that 21, 22 with our 21, 22
year-olds.
There's a huge difference. This guy is, जब उसको पुलिस पकड़ने के लिए आ रही थी, the look on his face is, every child or every grown up over there had that confidence in them कि हमें ले जाते हैं तो ले जाए, हमें मारते हैं तो हमें मार दें.
सही बात है.
Especially the scene in which they were taking away his father. And
because
he was forced to hide.
He was forced to hide.
He was forced to hide. And उसकी helplessness आप देख सकते हो on the screen. At that point, again, you could see the whole family is extremely helpless. And you as a viewer, you're sitting there thinking,
equally helpless.
What can I do?
Yep.
There's absolutely nothing that you can do. And especially the character of all the females in the film.
The mother that you referenced.
The mother, especially. There is a sentence that she says, ke,
لو عمل له إشي بس يا ريت لو الله ياخذه بس ويريحه من الحياة.
And you can literally feel her holding back her tears.
Well, yeah.
That particular scene really broke me down. I was like, yaar, itna nahi hona chahiye tha. And then there's another scene in which she walks up to the Israeli forces and she says, come look at my child.
Yeah.
Come
because
look at
they had to start living in a cave then. Yeah.
For God's sake, come look at my child. If this was your child, what would you have done? And the Israeli soldiers are standing there, numb, absolutely not feeling a thing.
Yep, absolutely.
And this on the second corner, on the other end, you can see Yuval.
Yes.
The same person from the same region, from the same society, having a very different mindset.
Absolutely.
He is also breaking down, and he wants to, scream out loud कि बस कर दो. मत करो इतना ज़्यादा ना. बहुत हो गया ये. And then.
אתה יודע טוב מאוד שאתם הורסים למשפחות את החיים. היית מרגיש שהם הורסים לך את הבית. לא על הבוקר, תעשה לי טובה.
मतलब it's a very heartbreaking, heart-wrenching kind of a film. This
is, I think, a testament to the art form.
Yes.
To documentary.
Pure raw documentary.
Absolutely, because the thing is, again, this is literally 4 people with cameras, and in some cases, phones.
Phones,
right?
Yeah.
Sure, it's gone through post-production later on. But as you said, when it's raw, it doesn't get any more.
Especially when the camera is, it's fallen to the ground and
it's falling to the ground. Someone's kicking the camera, or
it's still rolling.
It's still rolling, or he's running away with the camera when the soldiers are chasing him. I don't think it gets any more raw than this.
It does not.
As a character, and again coming back to Basel, again for somebody who is of that age, the word in English is stoic. He presents this almost impenetrable, like, you can understand there's this ocean inside of it.
Yeah.
He can't put it to words because even if he does, so what? What's going to happen?
Remember when he is glued to his phone, Yuval asks him, why are you always glued to the phone?
On your phone, yeah.
He says, मैं करूँ तो और क्या करूँ?
क्या करूँ?
मतलब there is absolutely nothing for me to do in this region, in this geographic location that I am in right now, other than just be on my phone.
شو بتكون على التليفون كل يوم انت؟
ضغط يا زلمه.
شو؟ شو انه يصير اشي؟
يعني يصير اشي بعض الغلط انه فيش اشياء ثانية نسوي.
شو يعني في اشياء ثانية؟
بعرف.
And do something productive.
Exactly.
At that point, you feel how much lucky we are.
The privilege that we have.
The privilege that we have, and how many things do we take for granted.
At 100%.
And on the other end, you see Basel. He's fighting
it's literally life and death.
Life and death for his family, for his own self, for his own community.
Yeah.
Of community of maybe less than even 100 people.
Yes, absolutely.
And he's doing everything that he can. But what's really good is कि अल्लाह ताला ने उसको एक तरह से successful बनाया.
Yes.
Okay? To some extent, he is successful enough to release this film somewhere. At least
that is, I think,
at this location where we are in right now,
absolutely,
we are able to see it.
And this is where I was saying that again they haven't been able to find
a distributor.
A distributor. I don't think they've been able to find a North American one. Maybe I think the Norwegian one is like the more international thing. But I think as this film, and I hope the directors are listening or something like that, they should put this out there online. I know that that's not going to happen immediately because, again, if it's up for what's it called, awards and all of that stuff, you can't have a film online. There's a couple
So I think they shouldn't put it online. I think they should wait for to get a distributor.
Once the award season is up. But the thing is that do you not think, sort of as somebody who interacts with, again, that age group, do you not think that this is a movie that needs to be, sort of played on repeat?
It should be.
I mean, this is a movie that, we had, not Mere Sultan, wo dusra kya tha? Usman, what was that thing, yaar? Ertugrul or whatever, something like that. On the one hand, you had that on PTV, and that was, sort of, it was a cultural phenomenon. What if a movie like this were to be taken and put on national television?
In Pakistan.
In Pakistan. Yeah. That is the value of this movie. That is the power that this movie has.
Yeah.
So again, I understand that, sort of there are certain considerations that the director, the producers behind this, so on and so forth, because there's a lot of people who helped get this movie out
I think they are waiting for the right moment. If it wins an award, even if it gets nominated, it's going to spread.
I'm actually
it's going to go very viral.
Really interested to see how the Oscars play this. Because the thing is that if you were to Google this right now, every foreign media outlet, who's reviewed it, sort of like, it's a 4-star movie.
Hands down, yeah.
It's hands down one of the best documentaries of the year. But I'm really interested to see how the Oscars play this, because the Oscars, at the end of the day, it's a bunch of old white men and women, right?
But you never know. The Oscars have also been, they have also shocked us with results,
with Slumdog Millionaire, of all of the movies,
with nominations that we expected it's never going to make to the Oscars.
True,
but it did.
I don't think that
so. You never know. Maybe I wish that it at least gets nominated.
It has been nominated. It has been nominated, which again was surprising for me, considering the way Hollywood has reacted to the past 15 months that everyone has seen, right? So I was very surprised that it was nominated. Now, come March 2nd, which I think is when the Oscars are happening. Really interested to see if these guys win, because these guys have already won, I think.
Is it in the documentary?
Yes, it's in the documentary.
It depends कि साथ कौन आया है उसमें.
साथ है, there's a couple of.
होगा भी तो I don't think it's going to.
Oh no. I've seen most of.
If it's nominated, I think it has more.
It has been nominated. I've seen the other film. I've seen most of the other films from the category. Nothing comes close to this, considering that how prescient it is, how it is the movie of the times. There is no other movie that is as important as this right now.
Exactly.
And I don't think that was by design, because again, this has been covering from 2019 to 2023.
Before that happens.
Before that actually happens. And again, watching this movie, you can only imagine what the Gazans went through.
And this is again in West Bank.
Exactly, this is West Bank.
This is very important. This is happening in West Bank.
In the West Bank.
This is not happening in Gaza.
Exactly. These people, they still have somewhat of a life. They have some freedom, some security. Can you only imagine what happened? And that's why I want to mention this. There is a series. It's a film. It's called From Ground Zero. It's 22. I think it's 22 short films and documentaries made by Gazans during the past 15 months. That's another movie that was released in 2024, but we'll have to see when we get to see it.
Okay.
So that's a documentary that's out there as well. So that covers the past 15 months. I can only imagine what that's going to be like.
Do you remember that scene in which they rupture that pipe?
The water pipe. Yeah.
And then they pour cement.
They pour cement on it. That's literally, it's called, salting the earth, because they're not even allowing them to grow their own food, to do any form of farming or agriculture.
They're actually forcing them to expel them from this.
Yeah, to make life so miserable, so unbearable in that area that they just forced. And exactly that's what they want. I mean, because you see that one scene and it's so stark, the contrast, because here they are literally living in caves, and then they go down to Hebron. When they're having food at that restaurant, it's like it's a regular city.
It's a regular city, yes.
And again, that's by design, because the Israelis want to hurt them.
Even if you don't go down to Hebron, remember that a lot of scenes you can see the settlers.
Yeah, you see the settlers.
They have built their own houses over there.
Right across the road. Literally right across the road. And that
just a single fence, dividing them.
There's been a number of movies over the years, and I've been lucky enough to see them. One of them that actually covers this was a movie that came out, I think, 2 years ago. It's called 200 Meters.
Okay.
Again, it's a Palestinian movie. And that is about the absurdity is that the guy's house is here on the West Bank, but it's separated from his workplace, which is in Israel by the wall. So for him to literally cross that 200 meters, he has to travel almost, I would say, like 10 or 15 kilometers. That's the absurdity of the movie. He can literally see his workplace from his balcony, but he can't walk across because he can't do that. That's one movie. Another movie, this was on Netflix, and I think I even mentioned this to you a couple of years ago. It's called Farha.
Farha, yeah, I think so. Huh?
And Netflix
I don't think I have seen it. Yeah.
No, Netflix has taken it down.
Acha.
It was a fantastic movie. It was about the Nakba in 1948.
Okay.
A wonderful film. It's not there anymore. Then two other movies that I'm going to mention. One is Paradise Now, which is about two suicide bombers.
Okay.
It's a day before they actually go and carry out the
October event.
No. This is a movie from 2005.
Okay.
So there have been a lot of suicide bombers, what's it called, over the years. But this is a day before they actually carry out their thing. And the other one is Umar.
Okay.
That is about a Palestinian who becomes an informant for the Israelis, but he's a double agent. Also another very interesting movie. Those are all, of course, fiction. No Other Land is non-fiction. There's Gaza Mon Amour. That's another movie.
I think if we look at again No Other Land.
Yeah.
I think again one of the reasons why it struck a chord is it captures almost everything that you have just mentioned right now. The entire 200 meter wali baat. Remember that scene where the cars have different colors of number plates?
How they've divided society into green number plates and yellow number plates.
بشوارع الجنب بيتي بمرق نوعين من السيارات، لوحات صفراء ولوحات خضراء. السيارات الإسرائيلية صفراء، تتحرك بحرية بالأرض. ممنوع أسوقهن. السيارات الفلسطينية خضراء. ممنوع يطلعن من الضفة. إسرائيل تحكم اللونين. عالم كامل مبني على الفصل. إنسان أخضر، إنسان أصفر.
Hats off to you guys, and I wish you all the best of luck.